gamers and Gigsters.
It is my honor to invite OGs in both the. So, before we start, I'm very happy, Olga, that we're closing AIBC with a theme that's very important to us, which is the coming together of gamers, hi Chino, gigsters, and yes, I will say it, gamblers, right? The 3G of the digital economy that continues to be underserved. On this note, before I get started, why don't I invite the extremely talented panel that I have. Please do come on down. You know, guys, without my glasses, I'm virtually blind. So I know Brian is here somewhere, Attorney San Miguel, and Obet. Come on down, guys. So we're all being oh, wow. I'm like, who is this? Who is this? I'm like, who's this? Hi, how are you? Hey. Hello, thank you. Thanks. Okay. I told you, the Philippine tech scene is like one big happy family. And, you know, I direct this to Olga, the reason why, and thank you for putting this together. Say hi and wave to everyone who's streaming right now. We felt that this was actually a very good way to wrap up what an incredible 2-day it has been. There are very few truly international events in the Philippines. And I tell you, day 0 of this event, we walk into the dinner, I think I was the only Filipino. So thank you so much for putting the Philippines on the map once again. Now let me preface why we are closing AIBC with this panel. Because we want to address the elephant in the room. I remember when I chanced upon Brian in yet another gaming event not so long ago, we talked about how these two universes are actually coming together, right? So increasingly, you are seeing that those in the digital economy space, specifically, you know, your usual influencers, your usual shoutcasters in the esports space are now being tapped increasingly by those in the iGaming space. Right, Bri? We talked about that. Now, I will leave it to them to introduce themselves, but with the increase and proliferation of games at home, right? How can we not but touch on cybersecurity? And when it comes to cybersecurity in the Philippines, there's only one person Digital Pilipinas calls on, and that's Mr. Tayag, right? So you look so preppy. I've never seen you like this before. I love it. And then, of course, who doesn't know about the phenomenal success of what AcadArena has done, especially on the play-to-earn market? So we're going to talk about how these three things come together. But before we get started, I want to do a shout-out for my one and only love, and that is Chino Aralio, who opened up how big this sector is. Now, why don't I turn it over? You'll go last because it's cybersecurity. I want to start with Attorney San Miguel, with Bri, and then with Obet. Introduce yourself, what you do in this space, but more importantly is comment on the title, which I know will raise eyebrows, right? Naku, baka mabilyonaryo tayo nito. Gamers, gigsters, and gamblers. Start.
Sure. Hi, I'm Attorney San Miguel. I'm the Scholastic Partnerships Manager and Associate Director of AcadArena Education. A lot of the things we do is coordinating with campuses and students and making sure that they're educated about this sector, right? Regarding the title, right, in terms of like gamers, gigsters, gamblers, I think it's very important for students or the youth to actually understand this as early as possible. The more that they understand this, the safer they are. And I think it's something that one of the things that we really push in terms of like this industry.
Thank you. Bri.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian. I head corporate partnerships at Tier 1 Entertainment and Blacklist International. So, a lot of what we do is currently we are Asia's leading esports and gaming entertainment property. We have over 1,300 content creators within our network. We're currently the only Southeast Asian esports organization to qualify for the Esports World Cup happening in Riyadh. So out of the 700 teams that applied, we were the only ones from Southeast Asia. So we're extremely proud of that. Look, I think for the longest time, we've been clamoring for, I think you and I discussed this as well, Amor, right? Like the legitimacy of esports and gaming as an industry, right? And the trickle down effect of that would be, the normally unbanked content creators would eventually, hopefully, have the legitimacy to be able to take on loans and be part of the economy, right? And be recognized correctly. Because as we've seen, the creator economy is currently at 70 billion US dollars and growing. So
Actually, Congressman Toff de Venecia, he probably is too young, but we call him the father of the creative digital economy for all of the bills he's authored. Documented Gigsters at 7 million in the Philippines. 7 million, right? And despite the fact that they're making a lot of money, many of them go unrecognized by the sector. Thank you. We'll delve into that. Obet.
Hello, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roberto Tayag. I'm the CEO for Asia Pacific for CyberQ Group. CyberQ Group is a cybersecurity company. We're focused in services. We want to bridge the gap between cybersecurity technologies and companies, clients, customers that we have. We know there's a lot of innovative technologies more today than ever before in the history, but we also have skyrocketing breaches, hacking, and all of those things. Why? Because there's still not a lot of information out there regarding cybersecurity, regarding how to use the technologies that we have, and CyberQ Group wants to champion them. We have our Center of Excellence here in the Philippines to leverage the great technical talent that we have here in the Philippines. So that's it.
See, hi. Even the mic gave up on me. Obet is too humble. So aside from esports being one of the most important hubs, the Philippines being one of the most important hubs of esports, Obet's company is actually a UK company. Actually, we met technically on UK soil, right? And last year we were in 10 Downing. Most of the innovation happening in this space, most of the innovation happening in this space, and later I will ask Obet to talk about how he had sachetized cybersecurity, right? Because if the games are as prevalent, then the coverage has to be equally as prevalent. Guys, let's talk about the first G, which are Gigsters. Bri, I'll start with you. You recently assumed the position of, why don't you tell them?
yeah, so I'm the incoming president for the Creator and Influencer Council of the Philippines this year. So I'm part of the board of directors as an executive director of the Creator and Influencer Council of the Philippines since last year. So this is one of the main thrusts, I think, that Amor and I were discussing. Potentially for the whole industry, we want to be able to help out creators first and foremost register as their own BIR 2303, whether it be non-VAT or VAT, depending on your income threshold. But that's the very first thing, because to be able to work commercially for brands, you need to be able to register, and not a lot of the creators are pretty much aware of actually how to do the registration, and that's one of the main thrusts of the CICP this year. And I guess adjacent to that would kind of be how brands, commercially, advertisers can work with creators on a more favorable payment term. So that's another goal of the CICP this year. But a lot more will be discussed later on.
So it's the recognition, financial recognition, and health recognition. I know somewhere here in the crowd, someone might be interested to actually support the health needs of the content creators, but let's talk about that later. Now, you guys came in, AcadArena came in at the height of the play to earn market. Now in a bearish, almost bullish market-ish, right? How is the model and what are you working on now in AcadArena?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the things that we're doing with AcadArena right now is focusing on student organizations and their participation in the gig economy, actually. A lot of the orgs that we have worked with in the past have transitioned to like doing gigs, right? Exactly what you were talking about earlier. Shoutcasting, running events at whatever scale that they can do, whether inside their campus or sometimes even as part of
Or
their
even
region.
taking part in e-commerce, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I really like the point that was made earlier, like about having the importance of recognition in terms of like content creators, because the same problem happens with these student entrepreneurs who are still very young but have the skills that are recognized either within their campus, sometimes within their city, within their region. And it's because they're the ones who are very involved in the industry. They are the grassroots of this industry, and recognition also starts there for them. So I think
But
I'm
I don't
very
want to
excited.
start at recognition. I told Brian, talk is cheap, right? And we want to make sure that whatever panel we come up with, we can do something about it. End of June, we will be sending one Philippine startup out of 10 ASEAN startups to Luxembourg for mentorship acceleration and funding. And they're a startup that wants to give loans to those in the youth economy, right? So I'd like to find a way to work with the both of you. And I said, hey, what if their money's in crypto? Will you actually recognize them? I mean, remember, and before I get to you, Obet, let's reminisce the good old days of YGG when people were taking home as much as 75,000 pesos, approximately, right? Now it's still not bad. From what I hear, they take home probably just on gaming 35,000 pesos. Still not bad, right? Even at the height of the play to earn market, the legendary play to earn market, which is probably the only use case in Web3 in the world that actually made money, how is it? I mean, how bad was it in terms of the non-recognition of the gamers and gigsters in the economy? Bri and Attorney San Miguel.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. It's still very prevalent nowadays, right? Even for those individuals who are already rendering skilled services, right? Like people who are shoutcasters, people who are analysts, people who are event organizers. At the amateur level, it's still very difficult for them to even secure a basic bank account because they're not recognized as a proper job, right? It's still sometimes seen as, this is a very bootstrap industry. When in reality, we know that it's a lot bigger than it already is. It's something that I think a lot of the younger sector definitely needs help on, simply because they haven't even gotten to the stage where they are adulting, right? And you're asking them to defend why they should get a bank account when they're already rendering, they have skills that match amateur like amateur people already. So yeah, it's a very big challenge, especially towards the younger sector.
Bri, your talents are market leaders. How bad is it?
Well, I think for us, as because we are an agency as well, right? It's talent management. It is one of the prerequisites in order to move up to become a tier one talent. Although of course you would have the incubation some creators that are within the incubation program, which are non-exclusive just yet. And this is still a very prevalent problem within that side, the upcoming creators. But I think, I guess like I would look at this both from a grassroots level and from where we stand right now, which is more of the professional level as tier one and CICP, where on a grassroots level there has to kind of be more, I guess, adoption when it comes to the education side of the gigster economy and the freelance economy, right? Where what are the exact itemized checklist for you to actually qualify as a professional freelancer, professional gigster. So we approach it, I think, from both ends, both on a grassroots level through right now, at least through the CICP, through the Creator and Influencer Council of the Philippines, and in partnership with some of the platforms actually. So YouTube, Google and Meta and TikTok have been very proactive as well in leading this front, because obviously platforms work a lot with creators and gamers. So this is a thrust that has to be a tripartite partnership between the agencies, the council, as well as the platforms.
Thank you. Obet, with the prevalence of games, whether esports or even iGaming, do these pose additional vulnerabilities for the home?
Yes, definitely. So, history lesson for everyone. So, way back in the early 2000, of course, late 90s, early 2000, there really wasn't a lot of games being played, right? And then I think it was around 2004, 2005 when we saw the start. I'd like to say it the start of attacks on games, right? With am I allowed to say different games with Ragnarok and different other games back then?
Buhay ka na nun? College, nasa school pa yata tayo.
Kwento lang sa akin nung friend ko. No. So, during the time of those early online games, we've seen malwares started focusing on passwords, keyloggers focusing on those games itself, Zelda, yung mga different games na gano'n. So there were really a lot the start of attacks on online games way back early 2000s, and then it evolved already. It evolved with the way we digitalize gaming. And now with the gigster economy, with the gamers economy, and with the digitalized gambling, it's more critical now to think about cybersecurity for all these people than ever before.
Yes, whether it's promo code fraud or as grievous as potential AMLA issues, right? So that's something that we're working on preventing. Now, I want to hear from you guys. How is the intersection of esports, gigsters, and now gaming? Sorry, iGaming, regulated gambling. Who would like to start?
Well, I guess us, because we obviously work with some of the brands that are here today. Listen, look, I think there's what is very strong about the traditional gaming community is the community, right? I mean, there's obviously very high engagement, a lot of I guess authenticity is required to enter the gaming space, and the partnerships we have with some of these brands who's well intentioned, right? We obviously have to qualify that as a starting point, right? As long as it aligns, the brand's values align with us, then we're happy to do the partnership. But in terms of how that kind of translates into a long-term fruitful partnership for both the creator, the agency, and potentially down the line, delivering value down to the community, it's really up to us. We really take a lot of, I guess, stakeholding when it comes to how the executions will go, and our campaign strategy, ensuring that it's also very brand safe. That's something that's most important, especially to the community. because we're speaking to younger kids as well. So it's I'd say there's a lot of work to be done, and we're happy to be here and do the work.
Yeah, definitely agree with Brian. In terms of like a lot of people in the gaming in the games industry, right, are typically younger. It's very important to approach them with the right way, right? These are the one of the most vulnerable sectors, both in terms of like knowledge and both of security, right? And especially because like a lot of the people participating in the gaming economy are the type who are passionate, right? A lot of it is like passion driven. They're very excited to be part of this. They're very gung ho, and sometimes because of like their passion, they get taken advantage of, right? And I think it's very important to address that at the grassroots level, because a lot of the talent that we see now moving to like the influencer space typically starts out as like when they're very young, like when they're in college, they're already learning how to be creators in their own right. They're learning to be gigsters in their own right. A lot of that starts out when they're still in school, right? And it's good to address that point or like that security issue as soon as possible.
Thank you. We also talked about the importance of how to make cybersecurity, because the homes are the first battleground, I would say, of it. What steps have you done to actually make homes more cyber secure and even more accessible? Aren't you just for enterprises?
No, we're not just. So here's the thing. When we talk about cybersecurity, a lot of people will say that's for big enterprises. Those are for big companies and all that. But in reality, everyone is at risk. Even the normal ones, the ordinary ones, are very at risk with cybersecurity now, because everything's digital. Everyone uses their phones for mobile banking. Everyone accesses their emails through phones, through tablets, and even the Gigsters economy now, right? Everyone's using their phones, everyone's mobile, and everybody's doing it. The convergence of all three is basically technology, digitalization, right? And everyone needs to consider cybersecurity. Now, what we've done is we want people to start talking about cybersecurity, even at the lowest level of the consumer market. Everyone, the gigsters, we actually wanna talk about partnership later with Brian here, because everyone is at risk. There's a lot of as long as you use technology, there's definitely a risk for you.
Obit, maybe we can extend the advocacy that we're working on in Digital Pilipinas. So Obit has been helping extend cybersecurity to SMEs. Maybe that's something we could look into to some of the members of the content creators group of BRI and also the student leaders in ACAD. Yes. Guys, do you have any questions from the floor? Special shout out to a real rock star and pioneer here, Sir Rafi. Give him a round of applause. That's you. He's the publisher and the editor-in-chief of FinTech News. Sir, maybe a question from your end?
Yeah,
He's low-key by design, but he's one of the most important players in the FinTech industry.
that's too much. Thank you. Yeah, actually, I'm just I just want to ask if there's something that you said about the section between the gamers, gigsters, and gamblers. Can you cite just an example in the Philippines, like a particular case study, for example? Have you done anything like that?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think if you're familiar with one of our esports teams called Blacklist Rivalry, it's already in the name, right? Rivalry is a betting brand. So we partnered with them to, they're a sponsor of ours for our esports team. That's the case study of which is, primarily mainly working on the top funnel. of awareness. So it takes on the model of a traditional sports team sponsorship, where there's jersey branding, there's community events, digital content that are part of the entitlements. So that's one case study. What's the value exchange here, right? So apart from the commercial, from the upfront revenue, there's also the, potentially down the line, once we become more, because this is just the second year running of the partnership, but eventually we want to be able to provide more data-driven strategies to our betting partners, be able to measure FTDs, first-time deposits, and a lot of the bottom fall, potentially lifetime value, all of those things down the line. But at the moment, for a lot of the gaming partnerships in esports and I would say the betting category is really just mainly top funnel, which is mainly branding. So that's a case study for you.
That's an initial. Sir?
Thank you.
So we talked about potentially supporting esports and Gigsters through cybersecurity. Another thing that we could potentially work on, Brian, would really be how to extend, as you said, the lifetime value of someone's IP, right? So I know this sounds a bit crazy, but imagine, say, Brian having his own theme ride park in Enchanted Kingdom. No, I mean, why does it have to be just Frozen? Why does it have to be just Disney? So you have to look at how they're doing it, extending the lifetime value of someone's IP. Right now, we're even just at the reporting level, right?
I agree. I think
You agree
Look.
you'd like to have a theme park ride?
for sure. I mean, if Blacklist International, if we could create one down the line, for sure. But I think you're correct. Like the stuff that we're doing right now, a lot of it is replicating from what currently exists, right? Like in sports, like trading cards is something that's growing as a segment, for example. Jersey, obviously, like to be honest, like last year, we were number 5 in athleisure brands every payday sale on both Lazada and Shopee against the likes of Nike, Adidas, Asics. And what we were really just selling was jerseys. So if we can expand the IP and manifest it in other forms, that's where you generate lifetime value.
See, that's what we need to work on. Now, I'm going to ask you, attorney. We're not going to let you live that down. In terms of legislation, technically you don't have a regulator, right? What do you think should the government very quickly do in order to help enable, right, the creative digital economy, the iGaming space, etc.? Attorney.
Sure. So that's true, right? We don't have a lot of regulation right now in esports. We have like the Philippine esports, like peso, right? But they're mainly focused on like the athletic, Olympic aspect, right, of like competition. And in terms of like the gig economy, I think a lot of it boils down to accessibility. A lot of like, it's not just limited to students, right? A lot of professionals still find it very hard to even get basic banking services, even get basic access to financial resources. And because of like their situation, it's harder for them to even know about it, right? So I think it really has to be a government initiative that like properly informs like as many individuals as they can, especially those who would be able to contribute to the digital economy properly down the line.
I'd like to add to that. I think the main problem with esports is that almost all the time, I don't know if you agree with me, attorney, but almost in every aspect of it, we try to look at what sports is doing and shoehorn everything into what esports could be, when it's it's totally different from the monetization alone, the revenue model. It's totally different. So one example of the regulation that needs to happen, or whatever support, is the visa, right? I mean, look, we've been now a laughing stock for almost a number of years because it's a running joke that if an esports team qualifies for a world championship, they will not. A Filipino esports team qualifies for a world championship, they will not be able to go. That's a running joke. So, I mean, look, there are these pertinent issues that is so important, and I feel like we need to stop thinking sports. What works in sports, let's move it over and shoehorn that to esports. No, it's totally different. Like, we have to be able, there has to be some, and good that you pointed out peso, but I do agree they work a lot more on the professional aspect of it. But I think even beyond that, right? I mean, you have to think about education, even at the grassroots level, to kind of help influence that, what's necessary, and so on. And it really is. It's a multi-dimensional problem that needs to be solved. I don't have the answer today, but at least from where I stand, we need to stop thinking about sports and just shoehorning that into esports.
And that's why we make it all about the digital economy, right? As Bill Clinton said, is the economy stupid? So, sir, what do you need from government? Something quick.
No, for the government right now, there's a lot of push actually from the current administration on cybersecurity. So there's a lot of
We did the last cybersecurity last October with DICT.
Yes, with the ICT. And there are legislations in Congress, the anti-financial scamming, I forgot the name, already passed Congress and Senate reading. It's for the president's signature already. There's a lot going on. Not for the government, a push for the framework to be go down to everyone, and everyone to be able to move from a compliance perspective on cybersecurity into cybersecurity that really affects them and really has an effect to their clients, to their customers, and therefore they're going to do it for security purposes and not just for compliance.
So to wrap it up, I hope they don't pull the plug on us. We're seeing here the coming together of the formidable Gigster economy, now registered at close to 7 million, the equally global and formidable iGaming economy, them coming together, use cases were cited, and how technology can make it safe and secure for everyone. Sir Raf, you asked me earlier, what are we doing in Digital Pilipinas? A couple of things. Bringing the mountain to Muhammad. If there's something we learned from last year, is we need to bring the advocacy to the grassroots. And so we'll have 2 in Luzon, 2 in the Visayas, and another in Mindanao, leading up to November. We're also working with a Hong Kong-based Game On platform to come down in November and work on art, music, and just the overall creative digital economy. We will continue to fight for the recognition of gamers, gigsters, and everyone who's not formally recognized in the economy, whether you earn fiat or crypto. And on that note, no goodbyes. We'll see you tonight, and we'll see you in Sigma and AIBC 2025.